Now the person has reason spiritually, intellectually, and has become a refined person to be called as a human being, manushya. Because dharma purushartha is not recognized as an accomplishment, or dharma is not something which is desired by animals, birds, insects, or any other living organisms besides human beings. When you understand that yes, I have several desires, just having desires and wanting to fulfill those desires is not the sole purpose. Those desires also need to be fulfilled in a right manner, because in a hurry, in that cumbersome process of, in the haste of wanting to fulfill the desires, a person may do several things which are then bound to bring him dukkham as its result. Something that he does not desire. So a person engages in any action or any activity only with the intention that this particular activity should bring me sukham. But in a haste, he ends up doing several things. Forget those things bringing him sukham, but they bring him dukkham in return. So now the person is able to understand there is definitely a relationship between the action and the result, or the various things that one is experiencing in life. Various in the sense, sukham and dukkham, and the variation of sukham and dukkham, permutation and combination of sukham and dukkham is experienced by a person. Now an intelligent person is able to understand that an action can be called as right, appropriate, only if it is able to bring me more sukham and eliminate the element of dukkham from it. So when a person wants to perform an action and he desires to perform it in the right way, that right way of doing any action then is called as righteousness, dharma. And it is because by doing this, you will get this. Just as in the case, by eating food, you will satiate the hunger. And by drinking water, you will satiate the thirst. So the relationship between the food and satiation of hunger, the relationship between drinking water and quenching of the thirst is predetermined. It is not something that a president of any country has decided that everybody should eat food, and this is my rule, that if you eat food, your hunger will be satiated. No president of a country, no professor, or no one else, no power has, no human being has decided it. It is the nature of the object. It is the nature of hunger that it will be satiated with by food. It is the nature of thirst that it will be quenched only by water. This predetermined relationship, or the predetermined nature of any object is called as niyati. It is called as niyati because it is niyata. It is niyata, determined, and it is predetermined. It is not determined by anyone's will. Otherwise, somebody will get up and say, well, Swamiji, I am from a first world country and therefore we don't drink water to quench the thirst, but we go for jogging. No, sir, that doesn't happen. This is niyati. So it is niyatam. It is predetermined. This is the nature of the object. This is the nature of the world. Like that, which action will bring what result and how that action becomes dharma to bring the right results, and how an action turns into adharma to bring the results which are not desirable, is also predetermined because it is the niyati. It is the nature of dharma and adharma. And on a broadly speaking, this niyati of what brings what, it simply means if it is a punya karma, meaning the dharma, it will bring sukham, and if it is a wrong action or a sinful action or a papa karma, it will bring dukkham in its wake. So when we are bombarded with various experiences, sometimes the experiences of dukkham are very, very intense. Sometimes there is sukham also which is intense. And at times then the person in such situations really starts thinking as what was it because of which I have to suffer so much? Then there is an answer. And that answer is, perhaps you do not remember, but every action is going to bear some result. Or there will be a bunch of actions, numerous actions will culminate together, will amalgamate together to produce one result. And then that intense dukkham then is the product of some purva janma, purva krita, dushkrita, papa, or a wrong action. Nevertheless, now one has the free will to choose the right action. One has the free will to choose the path of the right action, and therefore he desires dharma, righteousness. So when a person now is able to understand that let my life be led not only by the desires and motives of sensual appeasement or appeasement of the ego, but also we need to see that all these appeasements also should be in resonance. It should be in tandem with the dharma, and therefore he desires dharma. Now you see, at this point, the person has become responsible and he desires something more than artha and kama. He desires something more than just pleasures and wealth. What does he desire? He desires the right path. He desires righteous life. And therefore, righteousness, which means dharma, also is a purusharth, is also something that is desired by a person. An accomplishment which is desired by any person. Just as we have seen that dharma purushartha is a purushartha which can be recognized only by human beings. Similarly, moksha is also purushartha that is recognized only by the human beings. A cow or a buffalo is not going to ask for moksha. And that moksha means, it means absolute freedom from dukkham. So even if a person lives a righteous life and experiences relatively a joyful, peaceful life, yet he now knows that all the joy or the peace or the comfort which is there around me is so transitory that if it goes away, it will leave me again in suffering, asking for more, asking for something different. And therefore, the person now understands, just as artha and kama, just as various pleasures and wealth and things like that are also having its own shortcoming. Now let us say there is a person who's very, very wealthy. So he now knows that he has taken care of all his money, all his wealth. He has invested in the right places. He has saved the money in a proper way, because of which his old age is going to be comfortable, that he is not going to be left insecure in his old age when he becomes incapable of earning any income or creating wealth. But whatever that he has, the money that he has made so far will take care of his needs even in future when his body starts dilapidating, giving up, deteriorating. So the person is assured about it. Yet, there may be something in his life. Let us say the person has all the wealth, but his children whom he loves so much are not with him or her. Okay? He loves his children so much, but they are so far away that he cannot meet them. They are also busy in their own life and career and things like that, that they really have no time to ask their parents every day. So this old man and the woman are waiting by the telephone to receive a message, to receive a call, asking them, how are you doing? Just a phone call from their son or the daughter would suffice. But that also doesn't become possible. And so now, with all the wealth, the person is still not spared by the suffering. And therefore, though he may have wealth, yet that wealth is not able to mitigate his suffering altogether. Okay? A person may have all the affection from his family, from his children and wife and, relatives and everything. Yet there may be some other problem, something like a physical ailment, because of which now he knows that there is wealth, there is affection, and yet this element which is there is causing me suffering. So now he knows that wealth, progeny, or even the results of dharma are not able to mitigate the suffering altogether. Okay? So thus the person has come to understand that in order to be free from suffering altogether is also something that is actually, this is what I want. The freedom from suffering is what I want. I have sought it through wealth. I have sought it through relations. I have sought it through position, recognition, popularity. And yet, this freedom from suffering is not what I have found, though I have been seeking it ever since I was born. And therefore, when a person starts understanding that this desire for moksha is also a desire which is inborn, which is natural in every person. It is not something that comes to you because you are listening to Swamiji. It is not something that comes to you because somebody has convinced you that follow spirituality and follow this God or this Guru. No, this desire, the desire for absolute freedom from suffering, to end the end of suffering, to see the end of suffering, to mitigate it, to annihilate the misery altogether, is something that is natural. It is not taught, it is not acquired, it is not something that has come to you because of your social conditioning, but it is something that is there, inherent in every person. As much as a person is able to understand this inherent desire in him, which is natural, now the person has become, we will say, he has reached what a human intellect can actually understand about his own needs. Because we do not understand what is our need, and we keep on sending our arrows in the dark, shooting the darts in the dark. And therefore, everything that you do is simply becomes only a trial and error, trial and error attempt. So this is, and here therefore, this, how to put an end to the suffering is not what something that one would understand through direct perception, because the direct perception can tell you only about the colors and forms and sounds and various sensations, etc. But it cannot enlighten you about what is moksha. Then a person says, well, sir, I may not be able to understand it through direct perception, but I definitely can know what is moksha through inference, because even those things which cannot be made understandable by those things which cannot be made known through direct perception are made known through inference. For example, your eyes do not tell you that the earth is round. Your eyes cannot tell you that the earth is round. The knowledge that this earth is round and it spins around its own axis is a knowledge which comes to you through inference. You don't believe because Galileo said it. Okay? You don't believe that Earth is round because Mr. Galileo said it. You say Earth is round, and you know Earth is round because one can employ inference to know this fact. Like that, though this knowledge that the Earth is round is not known through direct perception, yet one is able to understand it through inference. Similarly, I may be able to understand what is moksha, what is this liberation, what is this freedom from suffering through inference. Through inference. At this point, we are going to say that inference also is not able to lead you to this knowledge of moksha. Inference also false, lame, cannot take you there. The reason is inference will function only by looking at certain similarity. Okay, for example, we are going to say that there is fire in the mountain. This is the most common example. And, in some other places in earlier classes also, I have explained it with much emphasis. But nevertheless, understanding it over again and again will give us more clarity and certainty about it. What happens is, there is a mountain, and this mountain, let us say, is 5 kilometers away from you. So wherever you are sitting, you are able to see the mountain. So seeing the mountain is something that this knowledge is direct perception. Then you see smoke rising through this mountain. And so knowledge number one at this point is there is smoke in the mountain. The knowledge there is smoke in the mountain is also direct perception. Through direct perception, it is pratyaksha jnanam. Okay. Now, somebody has requested me. Somebody has requested me to create a glossary of what may come, the words that may come. So, technical words, because, we will come across technical words. And people may start taking notes of it. Okay. You can create your own glossary, and together then we will be able to put things in a what do they call, juxtapose it together like a jigsaw puzzle. And the glossary for all these sessions can be created. And once when you have acquired the original words, then your understanding also will become faster. It will help you understand things in a quicker way. So now the smoke in the mountain, the knowledge that there is smoke in the mountain is pratyaksha jnanam, is direct, through direct perception. It is direct knowledge. Then what happens? It is direct knowledge because it is through perception. Then what happens? There is another knowledge which takes place. And this knowledge is there is fire in the mountain. Now look at this. This is very interesting. When you say there is fire in the mountain, you haven't seen the flames, you haven't felt the heat on the skin, because of which you would know this is fire or that is fire. But you haven't seen the flames, nor have you felt the heat on the skin, and yet you have the knowledge there is fire in the mountain. The knowledge that there is smoke in the mountain is direct perception. Though it is perception and therefore direct knowledge. Without seeing the flames, without feeling the heat, you are able to know there is fire in the mountain. And our question is, what has allowed you to know the fire in the mountain? Because this is the whole thing is about knowledge, okay? This is the pursuit of knowledge. Jnanam. Oh, Swamiji, we don't want knowledge, we want experience. Everything will fall in place. One has to be a little patient, okay? Don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a haste. There is one book by Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayananji, and the title of that book is Hasten Slowly. It is an oxymoron. Hasten slowly. So let there be an haste, but slowly. It simply means don't be in a foolish haste. Let there be earnestness. Let there be earnestness. Let there be tenacity, tenacious earnestness. Okay, I will translate it as tenacious earnestness. Okay, so one is ready to go with it at a length of time. Okay, now we will come to all those things, knowledge, experience, all those things. Yeah. So what happens at this point is, our question is, the knowledge that there is fire in the mountain is not direct knowledge because it is not perceived. The flames are not perceived, the heat is not felt. Then what is this knowledge? We are going to say it is there is fire in the mountain. This knowledge is inferential knowledge. It is inferential knowledge. Anumanam. It is anumanam or it is anumiti. Anumanam or anumiti. Keep writing, okay? Those who are taking notes, please, on side, you can keep another section where you can create a glossary. Okay. It is anumanam or anumiti. How were you able to have this inferential knowledge? This inferential knowledge was possible because you have seen the relationship of fire and the smoke in other places. Let us say in a kitchen. In the olden days, we used to have the firewood and everything. So that was a place where you could see fire. So if there is smoke, there is fire. There cannot be smoke without fire. Yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vahnihi. This relationship, wherever there is smoke, there is fire. It cannot be varied. You cannot have smoke without fire. So now, having seen this relationship elsewhere, now though you are not seeing the fire, but seeing only the smoke, what are you going to say? There is fire in the mountain. So the knowledge of fire in the mountain, which is inferential knowledge, became possible because of you having a similar experience of smoke and fire on several occasions, not once, not twice, not thrice, but several occasions. And not even once have you discovered that there was smoke without fire. Got that? Not even once have you discovered that there is smoke without fire. In fact, we have that saying in English also, there is no smoke without fire. How we use it in our, common parlance. Now, the prerequisite for inferential knowledge to take place is experience of similar kind on several occasions. If you are going to say what is moksha and how this moksha is possible, can be known through inference, because the human mind is capable of inferring even those planets and stars which are thousands of light years away from us. If we are able to know that through inference, how would we not know what is moksha? Our answer over here to you, sir, is for any inferential knowledge to take place, experience of the similar kind on innumerable occasions has to take place. Innumerable means numerous times. So what happens? What happens now is, if you would have had known what is moksha and how moksha takes place, you would be liberated now. Why would you want to know it? Because it is not known even once before what is the absolute freedom from dukkham. And how can it be attained? Because it is not known. Therefore, it goes to prove that even inference in future too is also not capable of letting you know what is this moksha. Therefore, just as what is dharma, moksha is also the subject matter which will be illumined to you and me only by the Veda. Okay? So what is Veda? Veda is that means of knowledge which allows you to know what is dharma and moksha. What is Veda? Veda is that means of knowledge. It is basically Shabdarupa. So Shabdarupa meaning in words, but these words now become the means of knowledge for you to know what is dharma and moksha. What is dharma? What is moksha? This is then the pramanam of Veda. Veda is not there to tell you about things which you can know inferentially. If you can know something inferentially, you don't require Veda to tell you that. Because sooner or later, you are going to discover it. And when you can employ inference to know, why will Veda become important as a means of knowledge to you? Because you are going to say, well, I don't need Veda. I will employ inference and know. Why should I want Veda to tell me about it? You see, this is very important. And therefore, what the pramanam, meaning just as the eyes, what the eyes can make you know. What is it that the eyes can make you know? Colors and forms. You may have several other means of direct perception, like the auditory, olfactory, gustatory, tactual sense, touch. Yet none of these senses are capable of showing you what the eyes can show. And therefore the eyes, meaning the visual faculty, retains its position as an inevitable means of knowledge. If the eyes are not there, you are not going to know what are the two different shades of pink. Correct? You know, you look at a tree and you see several shades of green in one single tree. In one single tree, you see several shades of green. The tender leaves, the leaves which are mature leaves, those green leaves now which are becoming, about to wither, fall. Those leaves which are new and just sprouted, so they are shiny green, there is a dull green, there is some other green. Now you see several shades of green. Your ears cannot tell you that, nose cannot tell you that, your tongue cannot tell you that, your skin cannot tell you that. Shades of green. Shades of green can be explained to you or made known to you only by the visual faculty. And therefore, when it comes to the field of knowing colors and forms, visual faculty has no replacement. This is the pramanam of the eyes, of the visual faculty. This is what retains the eyes as the means of knowledge. Pramanam. Exactly in the same way, what is dharma and what is moksha is told to us by the Veda. So Veda is that pramanam which shows what is dharma and what is moksha. So moksha meaning mukti. Both of them arise from the same root. So root means the verbal root. Then the word is Jivanmukti. So what are we seeking? We are seeking moksha. We are seeking that freedom from suffering, and such freedom from suffering which is absolute, total end of suffering. Nothing else is capable of showing you other than this Veda. So now we are also seeking, is it possible to be free from this suffering whilst living? Is there freedom from suffering whilst living? Or is there something of the other that is always going to bother us? And there the Upanishad is going to show you there is Jivanmukti. There is freedom from suffering whilst living. Not only that there is freedom from suffering, but there is something like the freedom from suffering as you are living, as you are experiencing this world. There it is, as long as this body is there for a living person, it is something important. Therefore, this particular text gives you this whole idea about its content. The title gives you this idea about its content. The content is Jivanmukti, and the title is Jivanmukti Viveka. The word Viveka means distinction, or you know, to segregate, to separate. Now you understand anything by separating it. For example, there is a table in front of me and there is a carpet. So I understand that carpet is distinct from the table. The table is distinct from the carpet. By understanding this, now I understand what is carpet, what is table. So when does how does the understanding how does the understanding takes place? Through distinction, by segregation, by separation. Like that, we need to understand what is Jivanmukti, so that you do not misunderstand something else as Jivanmukti. Because very often people misunderstand that, I want freedom to do whatever I want. I want to eat, drink, make merry, do this, do that. And the person will not know that is not freedom. That is called as how to waste your life. That is called as how to harm yourself. That is called as how to misguide yourself. That will only bring you regrets and nothing else. So that is not called as mukti. That is not called as freedom. So very often people misunderstand licentiousness as freedom. Licentiousness is not freedom. Licentiousness is a sure way only to carry regrets later on. And therefore, now we need to understand what is Jivanmukti, this freedom from suffering whilst living. We need to understand that. So we need to segregate it, not misunderstand, not to be confused with this freedom, with this spiritual freedom, with this freedom to do whatever one wants as his senses demand. No, sir, that is not it. Therefore, there is a need. So this is the content, Jivanmukti Viveka. This is the content of this text. And the author of this work is the great exemplary teacher, the legendary teacher, Vidyaranya Swami. Now, for any student of Indian history, to know the place of Vidyaranya Swami is not very difficult, because that what is called as the golden era of the Indian history is the period of Vijayanagara Empire, and the very foundation of this Vijayanagara Empire was laid by Harihara Raya and Bukka Raya, these two warriors who later on became the kings of Vijayanagara Empire. But the one person to constantly guide them was Vidyaranya Swami. So his name, Vidyaranya Swami's name, though you may not know what great authority he carries in the tradition of this knowledge of Vedanta, but you may certainly know him as the very prime minister of Vijayanagara Empire, when the foundation of this was laid. So he is the one whose vision created this golden age and golden era for in history. So we will continue studying this. It is over 1 hour, and so we will read only the shloka of Mangalacharanam composed by Vidyaranya Swami, and then continue to study as we go further. And if there were some words which were technical words which were used by me, kindly keep a note of it, so it becomes your glossary to refer to it again. And then, using those words also will not become, as a jargonistic, very difficult thing for anyone. Because there are going to be Sanskrit words which will be used again and again, without which there is no escape, because of one's shortcoming, and the English vocabulary is also not very good. So, but it will help us. So we will read the first shloka. Kindly repeat it after me, and from next session onwards, we will do the shloka of Mangalacharanam after the first prayer of invocation every time. Yasya nishvasitam Vedah, Yasya nishvasitam Vedah, Yo Vedebhyo Khilan Jagat, Yo Vedebhyo Khilan Jagat, Nirmame Tamaham Vande, Nirmame Tamaham Vande, Vidyatirthamaheshwaram, Vidyatirthamaheshwaram. Om. Thank you all. We will meet on Thursday evening to study further. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Thank you all. Thank you.